We can to keep this out of the public eye. I know that Helen's superiors will be just as anxious for discretion.
Did you know about the affair, sir?
Can I ask where you were between 6 and 7 this morning?
Oh, Christ. Do we really have to do this now? I was in my car. I've been visiting my mother in a care home in Kent. She's been unwell for some time, and I try and get back as often as I can. Witnesses? Oh, I don't know. I got the 11 p.m. ferry from Dover to Calais, and I stopped off for petrol and a cup of coffee at the service station at Venlo.
Don't suppose you'd happen to have a receipt? You were driving south.
Obviously.
Which would have taken you past the Rooketsfeld Forest.
Past it, yes.
But not into it.
No.
What sort of car do you drive, sir?
A Land Rover.
Just for the record, Mark. Do you know anything about the death of Lance Corporal Clive Morrigan?
No, I do not.
It was when we were going through the register from the armoury, sir. Mr. Vickery noticed a pattern emerging. Someone else regularly taking out another hunting rifle on the same dates as Clive Morrigan.
Coincidence, possibly, but then they turned out to be in the same tank regiment.
Adam Lochrin.
Lochrin? We were just with him in the education centre.
He and Morrigan were poaching pals.
Did he mention that to you, Hippie?
No, he specifically denied any knowledge of it.
Well, looks like you better have another word with him.
If you don't mind, sir, since Mr. Vickery and I developed this lead, we'd very much appreciate the opportunity of pursuing it.
Fine. Pursue away.
Thank you, sir.
Why did you lie about hunting with Morrigan?
I didn't. I don't know what you're talking about.
You and Morrigan both kept private weapons in the armoury.
So what? I've got a licence.
Hunting rifles, which armoury records show you both took out within hours of each other on 9 occasions over the past 6 months.
The last time you did this was the night before Morrigan's death.
Look, I'm taking my senior NCO's card out in 6 weeks. Poaching's illegal.
Were you in the woods with him last night?
No, I swear to you. I don't know what happened to Clive out there. I was wasted at our end of course party. I never even met up with him.
So where did you go?
Let me remind you, this is a murder inquiry and you've already lied to us once.
I went to see Cass, Clive's wife. I spent the night with her.
Adam Lochrin. Same unit as Morrigan, same taste in firearms, and it seems in women. Is he in the frame or not?
It does seem he's in love with Morrigan's wife, Sergeant Major.
And what's the grieving widow got to say for herself?
I don't think the love is reciprocated, but she has given him an alibi for last night.
And he checked his rifle back into the armoury this morning. It's not been fired.
Plus the ammo doesn't match the bullets found at the scene.
But he knows his guns, and he has a motive. He stays in the frame.
Sorry, sir.
Anytime. Which takes us to our first suspect, Major Mark Springer. Motive? His wife's been carrying on behind his back.
I've checked the receipts for his car journey, boss. He was definitely at the garage. 5:35 a.m. They've even confirmed his number plate details on the CCTV.
Doesn't mean he didn't drive on to the woods by his own admission. He was within maybe 20, 30 minutes of the scene at the time of the murder. What about the vehicle? We got anything back on the tyres yet?
We've got a list of possible car models, among them a Land Rover, which of course Major Springer drives. But there was no mud on his tyres, boss, nor on the underside of the vehicle. Turns out he had it valeted this morning.
Oh, very clean of him. Which brings us to Helen Springer.
According to Lochrin, Helen told Clive that it was all over yesterday. Clive got pissed off, threatened to tell her husband.
Did she mention any of this to you?
Nothing like that, sir.
You didn't get much out of her, did you?
I did get something, sir. There was a cartridge extractor on her keyring. I just checked out the small arms range. Helen Springer was pretty good with a handgun.
So she could have killed him. Adam Lochrin, Major Mark Springer, Helen Springer. Don't you just love it when a case clears itself up? Right, tasking, McDonough.
As you were. Sergeant Major, can I have a word?
All these broken marriages, they must have loved each other once.
You're starting to sound like Celine Dion.
What if you just meet the right person?
Trust me, the right person always turns out to be the wrong person. All you gotta give it is time.
Listen up!
I've just had a phone call from Major Springer. Helen Springer has disappeared.
I just don't understand anymore.
You were gone for how long?
About an hour. Not even that. She came home. We tried to talk, but I was so angry. She wanted us to talk. It was me who walked out.
And this was how long ago?
About 2 hours.
Wardrobe and drawers empty, dressing table cleared, plus her passport's gone. Nothing else seems to have been touched, sir.
I'm afraid this doesn't look good for Helen, Mark. We're going to need to do a thorough search of the house.
Helen Springer's car's been off the road for the last 2 weeks, but Major Springer's Land Rover has disappeared.
Have they found anything inside?
Not yet, but there's no sign of panic. She just packed with the usual ruthless female efficiency. We're going to have to work fast to find a trail.
Get the uniform doing door to door. Somebody must have seen her leave.
Harriet? Right, Helen Springer. You got a pencil? Yeah, get Roper to get a description of Major Springer's vehicle to the German police. I want Mr. Vickery to trace all credit card use. Hornsby, check the airports, railway stations, British Customs. Tell McDonough to get back to the education centre. I want to take Helen's office apart. That about covers it, I think. Oh, yes, and you, Harriet. Well, why don't you get over to Sergeant Major Forney's and ask him why it's taken him so damn long to identify those bullets. Right, you got all that? Good.
Helen Springer's got nearly 2.5 hours start on us, Kenny. She could be nearly anywhere in Europe.
It's 8mm, not your common or garden caliber, I can tell you. Unique to a Japanese Type 14 self-loading pistol.
Japanese?
Nambu, to be precise, adopted by the Imperial Army in 1914, but still in use during World War II. They found their way out of Japan as war souvenirs, mainly to the US, and that appears to be the case here. You see the stamp, B-E-M-P-L-S. That's the B&E Cartridge Company, Inc. of Minneapolis, USA. They specialise in replica ammo for the US market, very rarely found in Europe.
A weapon like that's never going to be accurate, which would account for Morrigan's wounds.
First shots were fired from some distance, and the gun probably jammed, hence the misfired rounds we found. They were just pot shots.
And then the killer moved in closer to make sure he didn't miss.
Just one more thing, Frosty. With an antique gun, jammed rounds, custom-made ammo, there's a very good chance you'll find carbon traces on the shooter. You find them, I'll match them.
Okay. Thanks, sir.
Hi. Sergeant McDonough.
Hi. It's Jake, isn't it?
That's right. I was looking for Captain Springer.
That makes 2 of us.
Right. Guess class is cancelled then.
Is she a good teacher, Jake?
I think so. Tries to give us thick squaddies a bit of a leg up, you know. Prepare us for the big bad world outside.
How's your German?
Bloody terrible. I drive her to despair. I better be off. Practice my irregular verbs. Something's wrong, isn't it?
Everything's gonna be fine.
Not a peep, sir. There's nothing on the credit cards. Nothing on the car. It's not looking good, sir. I'll give you a call if anything comes up. Yeah, night, sir. Who's Jake Tolman?
He's one of Helen Springer's students. I found him in her office this afternoon, sir.
Something not right?
I don't know yet.
Excuse me, sir.
What is it, Ogden?
German police have found Springer's car.
Where?
At a railway station in a village called Wolmerstadt.
Brilliant. So Helen Springer drove here in her husband's Land Rover, dumped it, and then got the first train. No CCTV?
No, but there's only 50 houses in the village and they all know each other. We should see if any of them saw someone matching Captain Springer's description.
Chances are she sat on the platform for a while.
Thank you, Thomas. Looks like we got our first break, Hippie.
Thanks, Andy. How's the door-to-door going, Brucey?
Oh, nothing. So far. Lots more doors to go, though.
Eager beaver. Tell me something, Bruce. Are you sleeping with Corporal Ogden?
I'm sorry, that's really...
Oh, no. I get it. You're the shy type. Well, just a word of advice, Bruce. I would make my move if I were you, before someone else does it first.
Why? You planning on moving that direction yourself, Harriet?
Staff, we found this in Mark Springer's study. Nambu Type 14 pistol.
Where's Major Springer?
He said he was going to his office staff.
I think you and Corporal Ogden should bring him in now.
Right, let's go. Come on. See what it's for.
This was found in your house, Mark. Is it yours?
It belonged to my father. He served in the American Navy during the war. Brought it back with him as a souvenir.
Do you have a license for it?
No.
Why not?
Well, I'm afraid I forgot it was there. I haven't looked through my father's belongings in years.
You do realise under the Firearms Act 1956 that you are liable to
I
prosecution?
told you I forgot. I brought that suitcase full of stuff back with me when I moved my mother into a home 5 years ago. It's been sitting in the cupboard ever since.
Why wasn't the gun deactivated?
My parents live in the country. My father kept it in the house in case of burglars.
Which is also illegal, of course.
Well, unfortunately, he's dead. Otherwise, you could take it up with him.
We have reason to believe this was the weapon used to kill Lance Corporal Morrigan.
Not by me.
What about your wife? Did she know the gun was in the house?
Major Springer?
I have no idea whether she knew or not. All I know is that Helen could not have killed that man.
Even though she knew how to use a gun?
There is a difference between shooting a bit of cardboard and a human being. She couldn't have.
Even if he was blackmailing her? Even if he was threatening to tell you about the affair if she ended it? Or threatening to tell the press? An officer having an affair, that always sells a few papers.
Did anyone else have keys to the house?
Nobody.
You never lost a set?
Not that I'm aware of.
A cleaner? A neighbour?
No, we even had the locks changed a few months ago.
Why?
Little things kept going missing.
And did it stop once you had the locks changed?
Well, it was hard to tell. You go to find something, it wouldn't be there. You wouldn't know when it had been taken.
What kind of things?
The odd CD, maybe a book, magazines, a couple of ornaments, nothing of real value. Worried Helen more than me.
Well, I think that about wraps it up. But if you don't mind, we'd like to have your hair and hands swabbed for carbon residue.
Just rule me out of your inquiry, isn't that right, Sergeant Major?
Something like that. All we know for certain is that the finding of the gun removes Adam Lochran as a suspect. He could not have had access to it. Right, which leaves us with Helen Springer or Mark Springer.
Mark Springer has to be our prime suspect, sir. We found the murder weapon in his house, unlicensed and illegally still active, and there's no proof that anyone else, his wife included, knew that it was there.
There's no proof his wife didn't know. She's the gun nut, isn't she?
And Mark Springer's prints weren't on the gun.
Yeah, it could have been wiped clean, boss.
Just as his car was conveniently washed clean the morning he'd been within 20 minutes of the spot where Morrigan was murdered. Motive, means and opportunity. Mark Springer has them all.
I think that's too simple. There were other people who had access to the house, though, and anyone who had access to the house could, theoretically, have found the gun.
Like who?
Major Springer said they'd had their locks changed. The quartermaster's housing office would have handled that job. Jake Tolman works there. He'd have had free access to those keys.
What connects Tolman to Helen Springer apart from the ETS class?
It wasn't just one class. He's been on several courses in the past 2 years, all of them run by Helen Springer. Even signed up for one and then cancelled it when he found out she wasn't going to be taking it.
Right, so he obviously likes her. I mean, maybe he was jealous of Morrigan too.
Sir, there is no evidence that he was ever in the Springers' house, that he knew anything about the gun, or that he was jealous of Morrigan.
There's also no evidence that he wasn't. Plus, there are problems with Helen Springer's disappearance. The driver's seat position in the Land Rover isn't right. It's pushed too far back. I'm taller than Helen when